Mike says, women want danger they can tame. Mike P, are you a poet of some sort? For sure you're a top G, and for sure you're a gentleman and a scholar. But are you also a poet? I couldn't have put those words so eloquently. I think Mike P is right. Mike Top G P is correct. Women want danger they can tame. I think that man just answered my question. Mike P, I want to thank you. Today you are the teacher. Thank you. That's actually, you just answered my question. I think that makes total sense. Women are aroused by dangerous men that they can tame. The danger is not going to be, you know, you just made me have an epiphany. You just made me have an epiphany. A woman wants maybe the most dangerous guy she can guide because it makes her powerful. He'll use that danger, his ability to cause danger, create danger. And if I can tame him, I can control that danger. That makes me powerful. Wow, Mike P. Guys, Mike P is a gentleman and a scholar. He just figured it all out, guys. He just cracked the code right here on this channel. That makes total sense. Even Schopenhauer wasn't that eloquent. You're right. They take the most dangerous guy that they can tame. Think about it. If you can tame that guy, you find the most dangerous that you can actually tame, not the guy you can't tame, because then he'll just run amok, he'll destroy you. You find the most dangerous guy that you can tame and point in the direction of your enemies. That makes you the most powerful woman. Wow. Guys, I got to tell you something. This is crazy good. What an answer, Mike P. Honestly, great. Women want danger they can tame. Guys, for me, that answers it all for me. That answers it all. I don't have any more questions. Mike, just like in one sentence. I could have talked here for an hour trying to figure it out. This man came in here with one sentence, one strike, one kill. He figured it out. Mike P, you're a genius. Honestly. I say it all honestly. You're right. Because the most dangerous guy, the guy who's in the desert running amok, raiding caravans, he's a psychopath. If he falls in love with you and you tame him, you can tell, hey, look, why don't you go get these resources for me, those resources for me? Why don't you protect me from these enemies? She can use him. She can puppet master the most dangerous individual. Genius. I love it. Coach, how to deal with hoflation? What is hoflation? I need explanation. What do you mean by hoflation? Is that like inflation, but as in women? Actually, you know what's really interesting? Ah, man, this is so funny. I was just talking to my students about this today. That you bring up hoflation, you just triggered. I was talking to my students about this today. There's a woman by the name of Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern was this white nationalist, anti-feminist, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Caucasian girl who was quite famous on the internet for railing against feminism and talking about how women need to go back to being traditional and how America needs to go back to its values and how we have to appreciate white people. Okay. Now, I love white people. Okay. So I'm married to white people. I have my family's white. Half my family's white. Okay. We're Arabs, we're whites, we're blacks. In my family, we're everything. Okay. So we have no, we don't have racism. In Islam, we don't have racism. There is racism in the Arab world, unfortunately, but by and large, Muslim people, we have we kicked racism a long time ago. Okay, we kicked it a long time ago. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in our world, but it's really like stomped on. Like we're very anti-racist. 99.9% of us. Okay, now some slivers of our community will give us a bad name. They're still racist. They're still thinking in the time of Jahiliyyah, the time of ignorance, because we say racism was for the time of ignorance. We kicked that habit a long time ago. So never take any of my comments as racism. Okay, now she was a white nationalist, not a white supremacist per se, meaning that the whites are greater, but white nationalist meaning, from what I understand, that let's preserve the white race. So I remember, her videos used to pop up everywhere because she always used to rail on Islam. She hates Islam. She hates everything that's not Western, or she really rails against it. And it's all about she has Christian values and the West and America and free thinking and, the whole liberal, not liberal. No, I shouldn't call her a liberal. The whole white Christian nationalistic faith. Now, I would have loved to talk to her about Jesus, because Jesus obviously wasn't a white national. I think she mixes in a little Christianity with, a little bit of white politics, let's say. Okay, now, I'm not an expert on her views, but that's kind of what I understood. So she says one day, she's like, I'm quitting this YouTube thing. I'm going to get married. I'm going to settle down, and I'm going to do the whole traditional wife thing. Why did she do this? Because she was always being questioned, like you kept saying feminism is bad, but here you are, you're this boss babe, you're in charge, you're running a YouTube empire, you have this channel, you're talking, you're the head of the family, where in the Bible, it's like the woman's supposed to ask her man. When she has a question, she's supposed to ask her man, okay? So she's like, people are right. I have to go and become a traditional wife. I have to go and, submit to a man and have a man be in charge and just have my man be the boss. So she disappeared. She disappeared for a few years. And now she's reemerged. And she reemerged by doing a tell-all. I read the article, actually. The article is quite, it's quite something, I should say. First of all, she's like, she hated it. She hated her experience. She claims she lives right now in a little shack. She's lost everything. She has to rebuild. She's going to rebuild her life. But right now, the guy doesn't even want anything to do with the child. She got married. She had a child. The guy treated her worse than a slave. She says she was in the worst position. She went from having a really nice life where men are pursuing her, and he was the man that she met, that she eventually married, was pursuing her. He respected her. As soon as she gave up her career, it's he looked down on her. She claims that he made her do all the chores, made her do all the cleaning. He was subjugating her, and also at the same time he was complaining about her, telling her that she doesn't contribute financially. So she was saying on one hand, he didn't want me to work. I had to wake up early, make his breakfast, get his day ready, and do all this and that for him. She was working for him 24/7. That's how she made it sound. And also he assumed that she would bring in money somehow. I don't know how he would expect that, but somehow, some way, she was supposed to be earning money at the same time, paying the bills. Now, she says it was a total nightmare. She says in the article that now she was living with her husband in Australia, she says. Okay, she claims they're living in Australia, and there was a death in her family. She claims there was 2 people who died in her family. Her husband agreed to let her come back to Canada to come to the funeral, to give her condolences, and then she can come back. Supposedly, according to the article, when she left, her husband said, "You know what? You left. Too bad for you. I'm done with you. I'm divorcing you." So she was left hanging high and dry, she says. And she didn't have much money. She didn't have anything. So she ended up, she's saying, in a shack. This guy really put a number on her. Now, you have to understand, this young woman was telling the world, you got to stop feminism. You got to stop all this women's rights stuff. Women, I think she even said women shouldn't vote, I believe. And she was like, women have to go back to being domestic. Just be in the home. Be a good mom. Be a good wife. And civilization will be great. We'll have a nuclear family again, and fantastic. But when she tried to run the experiment, it blew up in her face. Pow! And now she's here telling everybody, look, I was young and dumb and I didn't know anything about the world, and I just realized that I was totally wrong. And here's the other crazy part. The guy she married was not white. He wasn't white. From what I understand, he is not white. Because I was interested to see, who did she marry? Looks like she didn't marry a white guy. But she's Miss White National. She's the one woman who's the white race, the white race, the white race, the white. Which to me, race doesn't mean anything. For me, if you're white, black, brown, green, I don't care. I have no care. Okay, if my kids marry any race, I don't care. Whoever they choose, that's fine with me. But she was hammering, white nationalism. And guess what? She married a non-white guy. She got traditional. And now she broke. And it's only been a few years. I think she was married for 3 years. I forget now the exact number. Which I find it kind of crazy. But here's the thing. Here's what Lauren Southern doesn't understand. Because she's not wrong. She wasn't totally wrong. She wasn't totally wrong. Like, I lived the life she's talking about. I'm a man. My wife lives the life she's saying that she should live. I have a nuclear family. I have 3 kids. I have replacement numbers. I expect my children to do the same, to marry a good woman, to marry a good man, and have kids, and keep the nuclear family healthy and strong. What was her fatal flaw? She doesn't realize it. She has no idea what it was. She has no idea. What she did was she gave all her power to some man, and the guy crushed her. What's wrong in this formula? I thought that's what you're supposed to do, she's saying. She's completely, utterly wrong. Let me tell you guys a little secret, okay? The only thing that can protect Lauren Southern from a man is other men. That's what she doesn't understand. Men are the protectors of women. Point blank. I dare anybody to dispute this. I dare anybody to try to dispute me on this. You're going to be proven wrong. When I marry my daughter off one day and her husband doesn't treat her well, guess what's going to happen? Big Bubba, that's Big Bubba's me. Big Bubba's going to drop the hammer on his head. Like, I'm going to put him in his place. First of all, I'm going to vet the guy. I'm going to get to know the guy. I'm going to have leverage over the guy. I'm going to have, because us, we do a dowry. Like, you can't just take my daughter, get her pregnant, then chuck her away. No, hell no. It doesn't work like that. What she doesn't understand is when a woman gets married, traditionally, I just saw a viral video actually that makes my point even better than I can make it. It was about a father. It was a viral video. It was actually a cute little moment. It was a father handing his daughter over at a wedding. She's dressed in white. He's taking hands with the husband, and he's making the husband promise. This is a Christian wedding, I believe. Promise that he's going to take care of her. He's going to watch over. The father is handing over the daughter to this man. And the man and the father are taking an oath to one another. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty normal. Like, it went viral. Look how they did it. Look how they did it. People are complaining. Some people are thinking, oh, it's misogynistic. Some people are saying, oh, it's beautiful. You know how you get everybody's opinion. That's exactly how I got married. When I got married, I took my wife's father's hand. We took an oath. I didn't marry my wife. I married my wife through her father. We sat in a chair. We looked at each other in the eye. We took our hands and we repeated words back to one another that the sheikh was telling us to say. Like, okay, we promise like this. We promise to live by this way. We're going to live by the Quran. The Quran is going to judge between us. We're going to have, we have our rights on one another. And I took an oath to make sure that this man's daughter is taken care of, protected, well treated. That's what Lauren Southern is missing. She's missing an older brother. She's missing what we call a wali, a protector. Somebody who's male and is her protector. This guy, guys, let me tell you a little secret about the world. Men are the worst. Men are dogs. Men are wild wolves. You can't give men all the power. Oh yeah, here's this beautiful blue-eyed, doughy-eyed, cute little thing here. She's a little candy. Yeah, here, take her. Use her, abuse her, give her a kid. Now she has a child. She's lost her best years, perhaps. Some people think it's the best years or her prime years, let's say. And now she has an ex-husband to deal with, and she has a kid. Some people call that baggage. I don't, but some people think it's baggage. And like, you kind of put her in a difficult situation. And now she's literally living in this poor, like, shack. She says it's a shack. In the article, she talks about where she's living right now, she's the only one with a washing machine. And that the neighbors come to use her washing machine, she claims. And I find it a little crazy, hard to believe, but okay. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. She says it was better than the life she had before because at least she has community now. People are talking to her. Whereas before she was like married to this guy. She has no friends, nobody, no network. No social norms. She's just like this guy's slave. I wish I could like have a conversation with Lauren. Really, I wish I could. I could tell her that's insane. That's an insane way to get married. Could you imagine? Because the presupposition is that guy is gonna abuse my child, my daughter, my child, and I have to make sure he doesn't. How do I make sure he doesn't? Well, I gotta get to know him. I got to know his family. I got to talk to his father. I got to get to know, hey, is your son, is he straight? Does he have problems? We have meals together. We get to know each other. Before I hand my daughter over to the guy, I do a background check. I get to know the guy inside out. Then when I learn to trust the guy, we built a rapport, and the dowry is right. Okay, we can make a deal. We can make a deal that my daughter, she's not being taken by some lunatic. Because here's the thing, guys, all due respect. Generally speaking, the man, like 99% of abuse is man on to women and man on man. It's always the man. The perpetrator is the man. The perpetrator is always the man, either sexually or violently, in vast majority of the time. The vast majority of the time. I'm more scared of men than anything. I'm more scared from man than wolves. That's my crazy take on it, guys. Give me your comments and questions. I'm sure we're going to have a back and forth here. But the Lauren Southern experiment went completely wrong. And I hope now she doesn't go full like feminist and like, the family thing is crazy. It's not doable. I hope she doesn't do that, because it's the most important thing. In this world, that's the most important thing. Coach, hi. I just want to thank you. You were the role model I needed in my early 20s to be a man. Now close to 30, I'm expecting my first son. That's from Barnon. Barnon, you just melted my heart, man. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you for that. I really highly appreciate you, and mashallah, may your son be blessed, inshallah. That's I'm very, very happy to hear that. Guys, I've always on this channel pushed you guys. Be a good man, be a real man, and have a family. Have a family. Now tell me now you have your son, you regret it. Nobody would ever have a son and say he regrets it, or a daughter. People tell me I don't want to have kids. I tell them, people without kids hate it when people with kids tell them, have your kids or else you're going to regret it. They say, oh, I hate it when I hear that. I don't want to have kids. I decided for myself I'm not going to have kids. The truth of the matter is, you want kids, you just don't know it. Don't miss out on the experience. Now, the reason a lot of you are missing out on the experience is because of what was written earlier in the chat. Not my words, the chat room words, is hoflation. Hoflation has destroyed your belief that it can happen. That's how I see it, guys. I'm looking at society and I'm saying, look, society is an old sick man. It's coughing. Society's coughing. Help me, I'm sick. What's causing this ailment? A lot of it is hoflation. Hoflation. The guys out there are like, I can't marry and have a child with this girl. This girl's so unstable. Tomorrow she's going to be on to another guy. That's the truth. That's why you don't want to have kids. That's what I'm personally concluding, by and large. I don't want to judge people individually here. I'm just saying, by and large, when I look at society and why do men not want to have kids, and especially like some of my students that are closer to my age and like they didn't get married, I realize why they didn't get married. I talk with them, and it's because they can't find the right girl. They can't find a girl that they trust. That's why when I answer your question, how to choose a woman, number one on the list, loyalty. A loyal woman. But I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But because now men, in my opinion, in the West here, we kind of let ourselves get duped. And other countries haven't. It's kind of like we were playing hockey and we took out the goalie. We took the goalie out of the net. And we said, guys, if we take out the goalie, it's going to be more fun, more goals. Well, guess what? Other teams are scoring goals on your net. And you can't score goals on theirs. Why? They have a goalie. Did you know that in Indonesia last year, they outlawed extramarital sex? It's a highly touristic area. Tourists can come, but you can't have sex with our women. They're so smart. Indonesians are so smart. In Qatar, when they had the World Cup, and I salute the Qataris, if you sleep with one of their women, it's 7 years in jail. Like, they're so top G, it's crazy. I have so much respect. I salute them. They're telling us, guys, these are our women. Don't mess with us. We are not going to let you guys run amok in our town and destroy our future prospects. Somebody's going to marry that girl. Somebody's going to have a relationship with that girl. You're coming in here just for the week for the soccer game and you're going to just party and leave. No. You're not going to come here to sow your wild oats. When rich men want to party, where do you think they go? They go to Canada, America, Latin America, Europe. Guys, I've traveled to Europe, man. It's crazy. Like, the women just like volunteer. You volunteer, guys. I'm sorry to say, and I have utmost respect for every culture. I just find it crazy how the women they're raising their hand. We'll do anything to be in the VIP section. We'll do anything. Oh, absolutely anything. Like, it's a cultural thing. Guys, when I say culture, I mean the collective psyche. Everybody thinks that way. It's okay if a girl meets a guy in one day and she sleeps with him. It's okay. It's her prerogative. It's her thing. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Well, guess what, man? Guess what? I don't know if you guys know about the alarming birth rates. Like, the birth rates are really dropping incredibly fast. And that's in America as well. And what do? You end up importing old school guys. Because old school guys had kids. So they're like, oh, well, we need this. We need immigration. We have to have immigration. Let's get our immigration from all these guys who don't think like us because they had kids. Bring them here. Bring their youth. So then we immigrate to your countries. When we immigrate to your countries because there's money here, because of colonialism. America broke the bank. America controls, so much of the world. They have over 100 military bases in the world. America makes sure that the gas prices stay low and that hamburgers are cheap. America does that, okay? Believe me. We'll talk about that another day. So we go where the money is. Economic incentive. You need our traditional thinking because that's who made the kids, but you don't think traditional. So then when we come here and we're like, hey guys, you know what? Let's pump the brakes on this craziness. Oh, you got to assimilate to us. Well, if you assimilate to you, okay, let's say we assimilate to you. Who are you going to call next to come and immigrate here? If your crazy thinking comes in our countries, who's going to come next when you're running out of people? Okay, don't forget, guys, in society, we have what we call a pyramid or an inverted pyramid. If there's too many old people, like in, let's say, South Korea, then the young people can't keep paying, because as you get older, you produce less and cost more because of your health. Your health is deteriorating. We want to take care of the old. We don't want them dying in the streets, so we cost a lot of money to keep them healthy. Now, they produce less. They don't work 8 hours a day anymore. They've retired. The youth have to work and pay their pensions and pay their medical bills, pay through taxes, etc. But then we say, look, when you're old, we'll take care of you. However, in many countries now, the youth it's not enough. So you got to import people with different mentalities, different beliefs, different ways of life. And you got to make rooms for those different ways of life. Why? You need them. You need them just as much as they want to come here. You need them to come. Canada this year said they're going to take 500,000 new immigrants. Why do you think that is? Record low birth rates. That's the only reason why. It's not because they're open-hearted and open-minded. No. They need you to come here, work, get a job, and pay us those taxes, guys. We need the money. Don't ever let anybody lie to you. It's about the money. And all that is because the nuclear family. Why do you think they call it the nuclear families? Because it's the nucleus to society. It's the nucleus. Without it, we can't function. We collapse. Long story short, number one thing is loyalty. And it is incredibly scarce in our society. Look, in the ancient world, if a woman wasn't loyal, the punishment was severe. Now, I'm not saying we should do that. I'm not saying that. But the ancients were not going to be cucked. All our ancestors, guys, all of them, every single one of them. And nobody dare tell me, let he who has no sin cast the first stone. Let me tell you something about that verse. It's a later fabrication. That's in the book of John, okay, the last gospel. No scholar in the world believes that verse was original. No scholar in the world. Because if those of you who don't know, they used to stone women, right? And one day there's in the Gospel of John, one day a woman is taken in adultery. She's caught in adultery. And they bring her to Jesus. And now they ask Jesus, alayhi salam, what are you going to do with her? Then, he takes a stick. He kind of like scribbles in the mud, supposedly they're saying, in the narration of John. And then he says, okay, let the one who has no sin cast the first stone. Everybody's like, oh, I have sin, you have sin, everybody's sinned. We've all done bad things. She's done bad, but we've all done bad. So I can't be the first to cast the first stone. So everybody dropped their stones and walked away. And then Jesus tells her, I believe he tells her, your sins are forgiven and sin no more. I might be I don't know if he forgives her sins, but I think he does. I'm not remembering. That is not in any of the oldest manuscripts. That was added later, much later, like 300 years later. Now, I'm not saying we should stone. I don't think we need stoning anymore. We've passed that. Now, I think the principle should be that if you commit adultery, you should be punished. But what's the punishment? It has to reflect our modern day, our modern culture. That's a topic for another day. It has to make sense for our culture and our time. However, there was a reason why men would do such a thing. Let me tell you why. When men went to war in the past, it was voluntary. People don't know this about the ancient world. Most civilizations, when they went to war, the war was voluntary. Men were farmers, and then when there was no crops to pick, because farming is seasonal. Oh, we can go to war now. Okay, so who do you want to wage war on? That guy? Okay, let's go wage war on that guy. We have a beef with that guy. No problem. We'll come back for the crops, and we have this much time before the crops, so we can go to war for this much time. Now, when we go to war, not all men have to go to war. Like, there's a select few that don't have to go to war. And sometimes when you go to war, it takes a long time. You miss the crops. You have to come back years later. Sometimes campaigns can last a very long time. But wait a second. A lot of men didn't want to go to war. Why? Why didn't men want to go to war? Because they're like, hey, if we go to war, you guys are going to have all the women to yourselves. So laws were passed over time that were very harsh. No. No woman is going to enjoy herself while you're off on war. No. Look how harsh the penalty is. So men were like, oh man, nobody would risk that. Okay, I'll go to war for you. The government was protecting the assets of the men, or their interests, I should say. Now, it's crazy because you see so many viral videos of women cheating on their husbands who are out and deployed. Men are deployed. And then you have these women that get busted cheating, and there's people do undercover videos to catch a woman who's cheating on her deployed husband, how disgusting she is, how vile, and people hate on those women. They just rip them apart online, because how could you betray your husband? He's out there doing, fighting for our freedoms and all that. People, by and large, throughout history and the rest of the world, not in the West so much today, but they used to be disgusted or repulsed by women's disloyalty. Number one on the list, guys, is loyalty. And I think that's what's scarce and missing in our side of the planet. Women are just not as loyal. Neither are men. I blame men for all of it, guys. By the way, of feminism and all that, I blame it on men. I don't blame it on women. I totally blame everything on men. Our collective thinking, how we allowed ourselves to be groomed, to be submissive and passive to women, and just allow women to kind of walk all over us, and we don't demand respect. We don't have any backbone, and women are actually disgusted of us.